Hello there. Welcome to the Laverne Public Library Story Time. I'm Miss Janice and I'm so glad to see you today. Hope you're having a nice day where you are because we're having a great day here at the Laverne Library. You should come by, sign up for our summer reading program which is going on right now. And our program is called Tales and Tales. You can stop by, you can get your bag, you can check out books, and get prizes for reading books. So come on down and sign up. All right, we're going to do a song, so I want everybody to stand up and let's get ready to move around. Today our song is sort of like the freeze. It's called Stop and Go. So hit it, Miss Lorna. Here we go.
Something everybody knows, but we're gonna play it in a different way this time. We're gonna call it stop and go. Move your body all about until you hear me shout.
Stop. Go. Just dance around any way you want to, but stop when the music does.
Stop.
Hard to sit still, isn't it? Stop. Go. Stop. Oh, he tricked us. Oh, that's good moving. I see ya. Stop. Okay. Good job. You all did great. Whew. That's a peppy song, isn't it? Let me just breathe for a second because I've got a book for you. And it's a pretty long book. It has lots of words, but it has a beautiful story. I think you're going to like it. And it does involve tails because this particular animal does have a tail. And it involves tails because it has books in it. So here we go. It's called A Story for Bear. Let me get situated here. It was written by Dennis Hasley and Jim LaMarche. And it has beautiful pictures too. So I hope you're going to like it. Story for Bear. Everybody find your spot and get ready. This is the title page. A Story for Bear. The author Dennis Hasley, and it was illustrated by Jim LaMarche. And this is published by Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. All right, here we go. All right, look at this picture. What is that? It's a piece of paper with some writing on it. Wonder what it says. Let's see, it says, Dear Eliza, your father and I have been cheered by your letter. We picture you often living near the woods where we summered. I remember days of berry picking and golden light shining through the tall trees. And then it goes on, but we can't see any more of it right now. So let's see what's going to happen to this letter if we're going to see it again. Look, there's a bear. One day, a young bear was nosing through the bushes when he saw something lying on the ground. There it is. He looked at it with curiosity. He sniffed at its tiny marks. Then the bear took it in his teeth and brought it back to his cave. Do you think the bear can read that? I don't know. He'd be awfully smart if he could. Through the years, the bear looked at the paper with wonder. It seemed far away and as mysterious as the moon. Oh my goodness, look at that big moon. Isn't that gorgeous? So there the bear is, and he's looking at that piece of paper, trying to figure it out. One summer afternoon, the bear ranged further than usual from where he lived. He followed a scent until he came to a clearing, and there he saw several strange things at once. There was a cabin and brightly colored laundry hanging on the clothesline, and there was a woman. She's right here. From behind a thick tree, he watched as the woman sat down and opened a mysterious square she was carrying. His nose tickled from the wonderful smells of the cabin, bacon and coffee and bread. But he gazed only at her, trying to understand what she was doing as she held the book. He felt calm as he watched her. When she closed the book, he ran away. He didn't know what to do then. I guess he was afraid of her at first. Day after day he returned. He managed to get closer to her and watched from behind a near tree. His thick fur head was just poking around. He had never seen anything like this. Sometimes, as she gazed at the book, she laughed out loud. Have you ever read a book that made you laugh out loud? I have. Other times, she lowered it and looked away, but without really seeing anything, he thought. She's thinking about what she read. Still other times, she appeared afraid and held it tightly. And once, when the sun had slanted through the trees, he saw her place it gently on her lap and close her eyes. Later, she went into the cabin, and he lumbered slowly through the woods back to his cave. When he heard a blue jay call, he looked up quickly because he thought for a moment that it was the woman laughing. So here's the woman in her chair reading these books. Here's the bear peeking around the tree. One afternoon, the woman was not in her chair. Slowly, his head moved from side to side, and he walked toward her things. With one big paw, he knocked a book off the pile to land face down in the dirt. He pushed at it with his nose and scratched at it with his the brown cover with his claws, trying to turn it over. Finally, one of his claws caught in the cover, and the book flipped over, opened. The bear moved his nose forward. Then it closed again, and his head snapped back. Once more he tried, and this time it stayed open. He took 2 lumbering steps toward it and put his big head close. Look how big his head is. There on the pages were row after row of marks, tiny marks, like those on the piece of paper in his cave. He stared at them while his nose filled with the scents of paper, glue, and ink, and her touch. He didn't see the woman walking up behind him. When finally he heard her, his head swung around. For a moment their eyes locked. The bear pawed once more at the book, then turned and ran away. Ooh, I wonder if she was afraid. I think I would have been, would you? The next day he saw the woman sitting in her chair. The book with the brown cover was on her lap. She was looking into the trees, searching for something. When she finally saw him, she smiled. Come here, bear, she said. Boy, she's really brave, isn't she? After a while, he moved out from the tree, and then slowly he took a few steps toward her with his big head swaying from side to side. That woman is very brave. I would be afraid. How about you? When he grew near to her, but not so near that he couldn't turn and run, he lay down and looked up at her. She waited a moment longer. Then she carefully opened the book and softly she began to speak. There was once a sailor, she read, who had to travel for many years over the sea before he could return home. The bear gazed up at her as she said the words and turned the pages. He couldn't understand any of what she was saying, but as he listened to the sound of her voice, happiness washed over him like waves. Oh, he was happy just to hear her read. And you know, it's just like us. We love to hear people read to us too, don't we? He returned day after day, all that summer. When she read in a fearful voice about the sailor getting lost, he felt afraid. When she laughed about how the sailor played tricks, the bear would feel strangely happy. When she read of his love, the bear looked up at the woman with wide eyes and watched her as her gentle mouth formed the words. All the words she said made a story for Bear. Oh, so good. I love this book. I hope you're liking it. Whenever she read, he felt waves of mysterious feelings carried by her voice. Sometimes her voice was soothing and the bear grew peaceful. And sometimes she sounded excited or scared and his hair bristled and he gave a low growl. And sometimes her sounds were tender and he looked up at her and watched her fingers gently lifting a page and a page and a page. These feelings often stayed inside of him as he lumbered back to his world at the end of the day. And sometimes in the bubbling of a brook, he would think he heard her again and become quite happy. Ah, I like this story. One afternoon, when he returned to the cabin, there was a chill in the air. She put her book down and looked at the bear and said, I wish you could read these books when I'm away for the winter. Then she smiled at him, and the bear, seeing her smile, felt lightness in his heart, and she began to read aloud again. So she's going to have to go away for the winter. What he's going to do without her. When next he came, he was carrying something in his mouth. What can it be? It was the scrap of paper from his cave with its mysterious marks. He laid it by her books. Bear, she said. He knew now that this was her word for him, and he lifted his head. Bear, did you bring this for me? And then she read it in her gentle voice, as if it were a story he was giving to her. Dear Eliza, your father and I have been cheered by your letter. We pictured you often living near the woods where we summered. I remember days of berry picking and golden light shining through the tall trees. Look, she's reading the story. The bear's looking over her shoulder at her read. When the bear next returned, the leaves were changing color. When he reached the cabin, he saw what else had changed there. She was not in her usual place waiting for him. The bear walked into her yard, taking a few steps and moving his big head from side to side. He walked this way up to where her chair had been. There under the trees where she usually sat were her books. There were many of them, more than he had ever seen, lying on a cloth, fallen leaves and pine cones on their covers. She had left them for him along with a piece of paper, as if she had wished he could read it. And the paper said, "For my bear." He looked at what she had left him with his big head close. He understood that she had gone as silence surrounded him. Look at all the books she left for him. Wonder what he's going to do with them. Can he read? No, I don't think so. Let's see what he wants to do with them. Then, tenderly as he could, he put his teeth around the book with the brown cover and carried it away. All that afternoon he made the long journey from his winter cave to her yard and back again through the forest, carrying her books with their covers of green and red and black, their words of sailors and goddesses and far-off lands, while the stream whispered and the blue jays called. There goes the stream, and there goes the bear with the book in his mouth back to his cave. That night, as the moon rose like a white page with mysterious marks, he lay among the hard covers of her books. Finally, he slept. And while he slept, he heard her voice, gentle and near. She was telling him a tale of adventure, magic, and love. And all that winter before she came back in the spring, whenever he put his nose to the pages or touched their covers with his claws, she was there. There's the bear. What do bears do in the winter? They hibernate, don't they? That's right, Jerry. They hibernate and they sleep all winter. So he's sleeping there in his cage with her books. And he thought he heard her voice reading to him. And there they are. And that is the end of our story. And I hope you loved it as much as I did. So the next time you're reading a book, you can pretend you're reading to a bear, or if you have a cat or a dog or even a bird, you can read to your pet. And that'll be a good thing to do. They'll probably understand what you're reading, I'll bet. Okay, well that's the end of our story time right now. We've got one more song to do. And before we go, I want you to remember, always be kind to each other. Hit it, Miss Lorna.
Love grows one by one, two by two, and four by four. Love grows round like a circle and comes back knocking at your front door. Love grows one by one, two by two, and four by four. Love grows round like a circle and comes back knocking at your front door.
Bye-bye, everybody. See you next time.